one of the things that I've noticed a lot, I don't know if you've noticed it, Summer, but if you look on the newsstand recently, you're going to see just a proliferation of these gossip magazines. And they all look almost the same. And there used to be one or two. There was like People magazine and Us magazine and a few others. But now there must be 50 of these things that are out there, and they all cover the same things. The same people. I think it's Angelina and it's Jennifer and it's Brad and maybe a handful of others, people who are celebrity type people, and they have photographers following them around wherever they go. And every one of these magazines, in fact, many of them just use the same pictures over and over and over again. And every week, it's the same. It's the continuous thing. And I keep thinking about, why are there so many of these now? Why there must be a great deal of profit in that? And why is this one great big profitable item that the American people seem to be just obsessed with the business of other people, who's had plastic surgery, who's pregnant, who looks like maybe they would want to be pregnant, every story is just sort of a continuation of people being obsessed with other people's business. And one of the things that I've learned specifically in the last year or so working on my new book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, which won't be out till later this year, but it's on living the Tao. And many of you who follow this radio show know that I have been working on writing individual essays about the 81 verses that Lao Tzu wrote about 2,500 years ago and how to apply this ancient and powerful wisdom. So what I've done is, I've looked at this whole concept of not interfering in our lives and not being obsessed with, other people's lives. The Tao teaches us that non-interference is the most important thing and most important place that we can go to in our lives. So, I was just, the other day, I was assigned to a sort of a little babysitting adventure with my grandson and two little girls. And I was watching them for 3 hours out by the pool, and I noticed I was trying to practice this non-interference, staying out of other people's business, and just making sure that these are three little children that know how to swim and all of that, but just make sure that they're safe. But anything else, just stay out of their business. I had made up my mind I'm going to just stay out of their business. And I would watch the two of them would go together down at one end of the pool, and they'd be fighting about something, and they'd be arguing about this, and then they'd want to come and tell me to resolve it. And it was back and forth with this continuous trying to include me in their business, and I was determined that I was going to stay out of their business. And I would watch as, like I was in the pool with one of the little girls, her name is Kylie, and she started being unhappy about something that her sister had said or my grandson had said. And I looked at her and I said, well, you get that resolved and I'll be right back. And I dove down to the bottom of the pool, swam to the other edge of the pool. By the time I got to the other end of the pool, maybe 20 seconds later, stuck my head up, the two of them were hugging. And I found that over a 3-hour period that I could completely stay out of the business of these little children, and they could resolve it themselves. And we're learning much, much more than just having one great big person come along and interfere. Now, there's an application between that and these gossip magazines, as strange as it may sound, and that is that I think that whoever you are, if you're obsessed with what somebody else is doing in their life, who they're dating, what their sex life is like, whether or not they've gained weight, whether or not they've had a boob job, whether or not the endless kind of obsession with this kind of information, is something that you might really want to take a look at and ask yourself, am I in my business or am I in somebody else's business? And if I'm continuously putting my focus on what somebody else is doing, what I'm really doing is shifting the energy away from living my life to its absolute fullest and instead living through the accomplishments or the lack of accomplishments or the bad news or the hard times or whatever it is of other people. And I urge you to just not participate in that, to stop purchasing those kinds of things, to stop simply reading them. Don't even open them up and look at that, and instead look within, look at your own life, because basically what we need, I think, are people who are fully committed to making this world a better place rather than just constantly being consumed with gossip about who's doing what and how it's taking place. So that's all I wanted to speak about today, this idea of staying out of other people's business, even your own children's business. One of the great lines that I remember from some of my earlier writing was that the things we love, you have to learn to leave alone. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. And I was practicing that with my own little grandson and children, and I watched as they resolved virtually everything rather than having me interfere. And I don't mean just little children either. I'm talking about teenagers. I'm talking about your adult children. I'm talking about your friends and everything else. Pretty much allowing other people to figure it out when there's no danger it's just something to look at and realize that by getting dragged in there yourself, almost always you become a part of their problem. And now, and especially if you have two children there and you take sides with either one of them, then the other one is going to be upset, and then back and forth you go.